Good morning, this is Shelby Law with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for August 27th, 2024. The fire potential impacts for the next few days are shown here. We're mainly looking at wind across the central Idaho mountains today and tomorrow, with some of that wind expanding further east into western Wyoming and portions of central and eastern Utah on Wednesday. No significant impacts are expected on Thursday. We did have some showers over eastern Utah, up in eastern Idaho, and western Wyoming yesterday, and then some showers just in the far northeast corner of Nevada into western Utah as well. No lightning really accompanied these storms. Initial attack for yesterday showed we had 7 fires for just under 1 acre. Looks like most of those were located over southeast Utah, and our large fire growth was just over 3,000 acres, most of that on the Wapiti fire. ERCs are shown here. There's been a downward trend over the past couple of days with the precip and some cooler temperatures in place, but we still have some elevated values over the central Idaho mountains and portions of southwest Idaho, and then a few stations here in southern Nevada that missed out on precip and cooler temperatures. So we'll still be watching those areas for sure. This morning's satellite imagery shows an area of low pressure over the Pacific Northwest or southern Canada. As this low pressure trough moves eastward, we will see an increase in winds over the central Idaho mountains today and tomorrow, and we do have high risk issued for those winds. Otherwise, further south over Utah and Nevada, warm and dry. Smoke for this afternoon shows a southwesterly flow, spreading the smoke up into southwest Montana. Tomorrow, as the winds shift to a more northerly or northwesterly direction, we'll see the smoke pushing further south into eastern Idaho. Okay, for this afternoon, we see that low pressure center continuing to move a little bit further eastward along the Canadian border, bringing some gusty winds to the central Idaho mountains for high risk in those areas. Warm, dry with light winds further south. Those gusty winds are shown here. We could see southwest gusts 35 miles or so in the central Idaho mountains, and breezy a little bit further south as well. Minimum relative humidities are quite low over Nevada and western Utah. It's just slightly higher over the central Idaho mountains with minimum values near 20 or in the upper teens. Precipitation is possible in the overnight hours as that low tracks further eastward, really just looking at maybe a chance of some light precip overnight in the central Idaho mountains. And then maximum temperatures today are pretty seasonable with highs near 90 in Nevada and the 80s over Utah, a little bit warmer in Boise there. On Wednesday, the low continues to track eastward for some lingering gusty winds in the Snake River Plain and in western Wyoming, where we have those high-risk triggers. Again, looking at those gusty winds, a smaller area for concern on Wednesday, but still gusts 30 to 35 miles an hour possible over the east central Idaho mountains, Snake River Plain, and western Wyoming, with some gusty winds also possible in the northern Wasatch and the Uinta Basin. Temperatures cool with this little trough as it moves eastward, with highs dipping down into the 70s, so a pretty good little drop in temperatures for Idaho and western Wyoming, but the air mass still stays quite dry. Relative humidities don't improve much at all. On Thursday, the high pressure ridge begins to build back into the Great Basin for warming, drying, and clear skies region-wide. Light winds are expected on Thursday, and we really see this dry air mass spreading across the entire Great Basin with minimum relative humidities in the single digits or low teens. Even up in the central Idaho mountains, we'll have some pretty low relative humidities. 3-day precip totals are shown here. Pretty much clear air for most of the Great Basin, except for a slight chance of some light showers there over the far northern central Idaho mountains overnight tonight into tomorrow. And then Friday, we continue to see the high pressure ridge dominating the weather pattern over the western U.S. for warm, dry conditions with light winds. That'll continue into Saturday. It looks like we may start to see a little bit of moisture returning from the south into the southern Great Basin beginning on Saturday, but still very, very light precip chances here. And then on Sunday, the ridge shifts a little bit to the east as we see a low pressure trough beginning to develop off the California coast. So we'll be watching to see where this moisture goes and if we start to see an increase in thunderstorm activity. And then on Monday, the low moves further northward over the Pacific Northwest, drawing that moisture further north into the Great Basin. So the models have been a little bit inconsistent on just exactly where and how much moisture we'll see. So we'll be keeping an eye on that for this weekend and into Labor Day. Precip totals for the 7-day don't change too much. We start to see a hint of some precipitation possible in Utah with that next little moisture surge this weekend. And the extended forecast for September 3rd through the 9th puts a bullseye of heat right over the Great Basin. Looks like it's going to be a warm start to the month of September with below normal precipitation for much of the area as well. Looks like some above normal precip possible over the Pacific Northwest. That concludes today's briefing. Please check back tomorrow for the latest updates.